Hi Year 12, it's Mrs. Reed here, and today's independent study lesson is going to be introducing to you Component 3. Yesterday the NEA Briefs for next year were released, so I thought this was a really good opportunity to give you an independent session where you're going to be looking at those briefs, understanding a little bit about what Component 3 is, and having some time to think about your initial response to it. That way, when we are back in lesson together next week, we can share what it is that you are most interested in, and we can start to maybe narrow down some of the options available to us. Okay, so Component 3, let's have a look at what it is. So Component 3 is essentially coursework. It is non-exam assessment, and it is weighted at 30% of your overall qualification for A-level. It's marked out of 60. The idea of Component 3 is to recognise that media studies is a practical subject, that you are learning a whole range of ideas and knowledge and concept that really underpin the making of content, whether that's for television, radio, magazines, all of the different platforms that we study. So this component is designed to allow you to demonstrate that knowledge, to show you what you know of the four media concepts, and then to demonstrate that through practical application. So making a media product of your choice. Exciting stuff. Each year, production briefs are released on the 1st of March. And what we do is we set a deadline generally for this coursework to be done is about March of the following year. That doesn't mean that you're going to necessarily be working on it solidly for a whole year, but it means that we've got lots of time now to really introduce it and for you to start getting your initial thinking about the process underway. So every year there are 4 options that are released under these briefs. We don't always offer them all. So for example, we might have 2 out of the 4 that we look at. But I think it's always useful as a starting point to get a real sense for the class and the students that I'm working with, to look at what the productions are that really interest them, and then adapt, to suit your interests and your skill sets really. So please don't be put off with that idea that we might reduce them to 2. All that means is it might allow me and Miss Riley to give you some more kind of specialist feedback if we're not stretching ourselves really thinly across 4 separate briefs. But that is always open for negotiation each year. So the briefs provide detail then, and sometimes they can be quite prescriptive in what they want you to achieve. So they'll tell you things that you must include that generally will fit, of course, with the conventions of that product. But the great thing about it is that they also allow you some freedom, some opportunity to be creative, and the chance to pursue areas of interest to you. And that is in part why I have chosen the EduCast specification. In the past, we used to use another exam board where they very much told you what you had to make, a very specific genre. And EduCast keep this very broad, which is nice because you can adapt to your own interests. So what do I mean then by a brief? Well, you're going to be given some guidance on how you can create what we call a cross-media production. So you might be, for example, creating the opening of a new television show designed for Netflix. And you might also then be creating a second product that is some posters, print posters to market that new TV show to the audience. Or you could create your opening sequence and then create a website to promote and market the television show to the audience. So a cross-media production means you're making essentially 2 products for your chosen brief. Okay, and they could be TV, could be music videos and music marketing, could be film. Okay, important to note that you don't make film, unfortunately. If you're looking for audio visual, the television option is better for that. Film is solely about marketing, so making your website, making your posters, making behind the scenes footage, if you like, and interviews with the actors, etc. Or you can choose to make magazines, and that's always a really popular one for media studies, is making magazine content such as magazine covers, double page spread, website and other kind of online content for your magazine. Okay, so let's have a look. The process that you're going to go through then, once we officially start this, is quite in depth. We have to submit a lot of work, and that means that you have to show real evidence of all the research you've undertaken and your planning. And that bit's important because it helps to really cement and kind of develop your ideas, make sure you're making something that you have really thought about very carefully in line with the brief. But it also is useful evidence. It helps us to show that this is your own work and authenticate it as yours. You have to write a statement of your aims. This is a piece of writing that has to be submitted to the exam board that makes it very clear what you intend to achieve when making this. It's a really good way for you to also point out to the examiner your choices in terms of media language, to show evidence of your research and planning and how that's helped your decision making. So we have to submit that one too. And then of course your different products. So print, you might be asked to make say 4 pages of print media plus product 2, a website. Or you might be asked to make 2 or 3 minutes of film, audio visual plus some print posters. Okay, so there's always 2 products, and therefore we create what they call that digital convergence. You're showing that you can create something that is almost a brand, that you are linking your products together, and there is this kind of clear and consistent vision about linking everything that you've made. Okay, let's get on to what the briefs are then for 2023. So I'm going to ask you today to spend a little bit of time reading through those briefs. I've attached the full document for you on To Show My Homework. It's quite in depth. Okay, there's a lot of information there. You can skip over the initial couple of pages, and then that will take you straight into the full briefs. What I'd like you to do though is to spend a bit of time thinking about which ones appeal to you most. Can you narrow it down to, 1 or 2? Perhaps you got 1 straight away, you already know what you want to do. But perhaps there's going to be 2 that really appeal. So part of the work I can do with you is helping you to pick the one that's going to work best. And that's something we can certainly discuss in our next lesson. Okay, so let's have a little look at them on screen, and then you can obviously go away and read the full briefs online. So this one is option 1, and this is your television brief, okay? And you can see the page, the format of this is laid out exactly the same throughout the whole document. So on the left-hand side, right over here, look, you've got details of the brief. So that's where we're going to start. So what are you being asked to do? So in this case, you're being asked to make a cross-media production for a new television programme in a factual or fictional genre of your choice. So that is lovely. That's really broad and wide open. You could be making everything here from, a documentary, something factual, or you could be making a fictional crime drama, for example. You're being asked then to create an audio-visual sequence and its associated print or online materials. And you can see here this bit of information becomes really important because this bit here is going to help you to narrow down your ideas. So this product should be for an independent production company. So we've got here our first area of research. who are these independent companies that they list? Tiger, Aspect, Kudos, Red Productions. If we've never heard of them, we're going to want to know a bit more. What types of TV shows do they already make? That's going to help me to get some ideas about what I could potentially do. You can see here it's being broadcast on Netflix or E4. So that's great. We want to look at what type of content exists on these platforms. And also we've got the target audience, 18 to 35-year-olds. Okay, so you're targeting actually an older demographic than some of the briefs have given us in the past, 18 plus. What's going to appeal to them? What would we be likely to see, say, on Netflix? And what do these production companies, say Kudos, already create? And once I start investigating this, it's going to help me to narrow down my ideas greatly. Okay, let's look at what the actual task then is. That's this column here. You're being asked to create a pre-title and a title sequence for a pilot episode of a new TV show. Okay, so this again narrows it down. This is a new television show. We're going to need to kind of introduce the characters and the concept, the themes, the story. But pre-title, so we might refer to that as like a cold opening, a bit of the TV show we see before the title sequence plays. And my goodness, we've got some brilliant title sequences that we can study if that is something of interest to you. So that's the bit that you really need to look at today. Moving to the final column here, that's your details, what your production must include. So obviously that is very useful when we get onto the planning stage, making sure we are including all of these details in order to meet the brief and get the highest marks. However, today that bit's not your real concern. I want you to pay attention to your details, okay, and the actual task, and really think about, okay, which one jumps out at me, or which one makes me feel a bit excited about making something. Okay, so next up then we've got magazines. Okay, so magazines, we can see the details of the brief here. So again, it's cross-media, and it's going to be for a new magazine in a specific genre or sub-genre of your choice. So this is wonderful. Really broad, you could be making lifestyle magazines, gossip, fashion, sport. In fact, we have one student this year who's making a sport magazine. It could be a music magazine, so many different options. Could be gaming, film, anything you like really. Create an original print pages for this magazine, okay, plus its audio, visual or online material. And we've got some key info. Major publishing organisation. So this is mainstream. It's one of the big publishing brands such as Bauer, Condé Nast or Hearst. So you might want to look into those, okay. What kinds of magazines do they make that might be realistic with the ideas that I've got? And again, mainstream audience, okay, so we're not looking at a niche audience here, and 18 to 35 years old. And this tells you what you need to make. So it's not just one thing. You need a front cover, a contents page, and a double page feature article for your magazine. So that one's shifted slightly from this year's brief where it's 2 front covers. Okay, so that gives you an opportunity to really demonstrate a whole range of production skills in design. So if you know that photography is your thing, for example, if you know that you've really got a keen eye for detail and designing things and making things like on Canva, or for example, are for you, this is a really good option. Okay, so do a bit of investigating, have a look. And as I say, this is a really popular option and one that we've had real success with in the past. Okay, brief 3, film marketing. I love this brief. We have a student doing this year, and I can share with you the kind of pros and cons of it because it does come with some challenges, but it's a great one. So this one allows you to create marketing material to promote a new film in a genre or subgenre of your choice. Okay, so let's just do horror here as an example. You've got a concept for a horror movie. You're not going to actually make it. What you're going to do instead is you're going to come up with the premise of it, maybe do some storyboarding, create a pitch like we were pitching it to some producers. And then you're going to create some marketing materials. So you're going to want to create a whole number of things to promote this to the audience. In fact, let's skip straight to the task. We can see you've got to create a DVD cover. So that's like your flat plan, if you like, your front cover, back cover, and the spine. You've got to create a teaser poster and then a poster for its theatrical release. So that's 4 pages of print media to create, plus then your online material, so your website, or some audio visual if you want to go down that route too. This one is for a major film studio. So they've given you some examples here, Paramount or 20th Century Studios. So there's your bit for research. Who are they? What films have they made? And which ones would appeal to this audience? Okay. Lastly then, we have the music marketing. And again, we've had a couple of students make these in the past. I have an excellent example from a couple of years ago I can share with you. So this is about creating marketing materials for a new artist or a band. It has to be in a popular genre or subgenre of your choice. And so again, you get to have a bit of fun here. You're creating your fictional band, and then you're going to imagine you've got to sell this to the audience. So you'll be creating a music video. That's going to include some performance here, okay, generally speaking. So really good if you're happy to be behind the camera, in front of the camera, because you can star in your own video. That's possible to do. Or if you've got friends perhaps who are more than happy to feature in it. You're also going to create then your print and online materials for that artist or band. And this one's interesting. It's for an independent record label, and they give you some here, Heavenly, Warp or Fader. So have a look at those today and see, well, if I'm interested in music marketing, what kinds of bands and artists are under these independent labels? Do I know any of them, or do I like a genre of music that's under them? And then you want to think about, this time it's not mainstream, it's a specialised audience of 18 to 35-year-olds. So that changes the appeal somewhat, okay, too. So you're being asked to create the music video. It's going to be 3 minutes, or maximum of 3 minutes and 30 seconds. You don't have to make the song. I think that bit's important to say. You find the song online, but you imagine that this fictional band or singer has created it, and you make the music video to go alongside. As it says there, you may use an existing song. So that could be good. Perhaps you've got an artist or a genre you really love, and that appeals to you. Anyway, time for me to stop talking and hand over. So I've chosen the brief, okay, or 2 that most appeal to me. So what do I do next? Well, work through the kind of questions here and do what we call an initial response to the brief. So you're going to think about why they appeal to you, perhaps what interests you already have. Have you got skills a skill set you've already got, or things you want to learn? You might want to summarise, put the actual kind of brief, what you're being asked to do, into your own words, and then do that initial bit of research. What products do these different companies make? What might appeal to the audience? And yeah, just start brainstorming. Feel free to chat, discuss with one another. And I look forward to talking to you about this next lesson. When you've done this task, please save it. So you can create a PowerPoint to record your initial ideas. PowerPoint's good because you can chuck loads of pictures onto it really easily and make it visual as well, and that's going to be important for your research and planning. But equally, in the past, students have also set up a blog. So you might use something like WordPress to create a blog, and then you can just post on that blog every time you've done a bit of work, and that is your kind of evidence of research and planning. So you've got 2 options there, and I'll post a little link to WordPress and setting up an account for you too. I hope you have a good day. Sorry I can't be with you, but I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Bye!